Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's time for some mock draft action. That's right, baby. It's Superflex time. You've been begging for it. You've been asking for it. So Uncle Joey's going to give it to you. That's right. We're going to do Superflex right here. And, of course, we're coming right off of the heels of a great Expert League draft just about a week ago. And we are lucky enough to have one of those folks joining us from that draft, one of the experts from Sharp Football. We're going to talk about that draft and a little bit more food-related things as well today on the program. Also joining us, we've got Andrew Erickson, the Undertaker, Scott Bogman, the king of all things college football, IDP, and more, our Dynasty podcast host here. But Rich Hribar, it is so good to see you again, my friend. This is you're getting me spoiled here. I see you like twice in 2 weeks. It's beautiful. Of course, Sharp Football Analysis is the place where you can see Rich's work. Now, Rich, every year you come into New York. We do the Flex League draft together that Jake Seeley puts together. We're in that league together for years now. And every year you try a new pizza place. And I recommended one in Brooklyn to make the pilgrimage to my all-time favorite, next to my old neighborhood, L&B Spumoni Gardens. So, Rich Hribar, I need your pizza review before we talk draft.
Yeah, I thought it was really solid. A little sweeter than I like it, but definitely still really solid. But yeah, we went after your recommendation. I still have Lindustry number one. Lindustry is still my number one. My wife also enjoyed it too. My wife has Scar number one still too, but I would say that it's definitely in the conversation for the top three.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah. So different. So you didn't let me down at all. Like it was good. I would go back again. We're splitting hairs at the top, kind of like when you have a top three draft picker, right? Or in these super flex leagues when you have to pick one of these good quarterbacks, right? Like you're splitting.
Joe doesn't have any hairs to split.
Yeah,
that's also fair. That's also fair. But you got to get the square pie. And I told Richie, I was like, Richie, you got to get the square pie. Don't get the round pie. Now, did you get a slice or you got the whole pie? See, the trick is to buy the whole pie.
No, we didn't get the whole pie. I can't. Yeah, because we're
it's amateur hour, Hribar.
We're traveling. You're trying to go to multiple places.
Now you got to drop the big money for the pie. Now, Andrew Erickson, you weren't there this year because you had a stupid wedding to go to. So next year, are you gonna go with me to get some pizza?
Yeah, of course I will. As long as there's not another wedding planned.
None of the New York people ever stay either. It's the interesting thing about the Flex is like everyone travels in. You think you're gonna hang out with everyone, and all the people from like the area, from New York and Jersey stuff, they just leave after the draft. They don't even hang around.
Well, I would have stayed, but I'm fostering a dog, as everybody from the latest live stream knows. So I had to get home for the dog. Scott Bogman doesn't have dogs; he has cats, and he's also got a pick in this draft today.
Too.
That's right. You do have the dogs now. Your mom has the dogs too. So let's talk about this for a second here. Bogman, can we get you to come in for the flex draft next year?
Yeah, next year.
Okay.
I'm coming.
All right, there we go. It's settled. We're all going to hang out, and I will stay, and I will get pizza with everybody and whatever else we're doing. Now, today, the big draft board, again, Superflex, and we're talking about strategies here, different spots. Now, I drafted from the 4 spot in that draft. I'm going to draft from that 4 spot again today. Andrew's going to draft from the 6 spot. Bogman is going to be at 9, and Richie Hribar is going to be taking that turn there at the end at the 12 spot. So we're going to kick things off here right now. And of course, we want you to subscribe to the channel, trying to get to 300,000 this year. And on top of that, we want you to run the mock drafts on your own. So make sure you're using Draft Wizard, use the mock draft simulator. And remember, when you're watching this video, drop your comments below because you might win yourself the most amazing helmet. That's right, AJ Brown, the autographed helmet from pristineauction.com. It's a salute to service helmet too. So all you got to do to win it, drop your comments below and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell till it goes ding and like the stream. That's it. It's free. All that stuff is free and the helmet could be yours. Okay, so Rich, when you're at the bottom here of the Superflex, it's kind of tricky because you run the risk of another QB run in the 2nd or 3rd round. And I think that could be problematic. So are you somebody that typically, going into this is going, okay, I want to get the best position player and the best quarterback on the board? Or are you just saying, no, I want the best players on the board and I'll figure out QB later? Because I think the beginning of Superflex is very easy, the first 5 or 6 picks. It's after that where I think theory really comes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's more when you pick at the back. I love doing these mocks too and trying something different because I want to show at least some gamers, what it looks like if you don't take quarterback. Because if you're picking at the back of the first round and we kind of hit that firewall tier, I would include the top 4 and then I would include, Joe Burrow just right outside of that. you're not going to combat those teams with like the QB9 and the QB10, right? Like from a team building stance. My Bo Nix team isn't going to compete with the Lamar Jackson team. I have to find a way to get leverage on those teams that went quarterback early. So I would rather do that through the position plays and then come back and circle at quarterback. I also believe this year also sets up where after Burrow, it's largely flat. I believe like QB6 through almost QB20, you kind of have dealer's choice. I don't think there's a really wide gap between a lot of those players. So hopefully I can not get caught missing out on a run being at the turn, because that's the one concern is if you're like, I'll push one more round, and then you hit that wall where like they all go in a row and you miss out, and then you're staring down the gun barrel of like Sam Darnold as a starting quarterback. And you don't want to be in that boat either. So you got to find that balance. But the only way to get leverage on those Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen teams is I've got to hit them with, wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah. And look, Joe Burrow's the guy that I got at the 4 spot, but I did not get him today. First 3 picks off the board, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow right before me at 4. So I'm going to try something different here. I'm going to see if I can make this work. Jamar Chase at 104, and we'll see what the quarterbacks look like. Or who knows, maybe I'll go 0 QB or late QB. We'll find out. Jaden Daniels goes 105. Jalen Hurts to you, Erickson. I was going back and forth between Hurts and Chase, and I figured, let's try something different, show the kids something new, and see if I can make it work today. Andrew Erickson, look, Hurts or Jaden Daniels, I think both of them kind of right in that spot. I think with Jaden Daniels, a little bit more expectations this year, a little bit more, I think teams being prepared for him, whereas Hurts, I feel like might be a little bit safer of a pick. Do you feel the same way?
I think so. I think that's a logical way to look at it. Hurts he's going to bang double-digit rushing touchdowns, right? They still have the tush push, and that was something that I was concerned about entering this season, where if they take it away, is he going to score as many rushing touchdowns? Because I think the rushing yardage probably works in favor more of Jaden Daniels than Jalen Hurts, but the touchdown equity, just over the last couple seasons, he's scoring double-digit touchdowns every single year, and if this Eagles defense regresses in any way after losing a bunch of their veterans from last year, they're throwing the ball a little bit more. I mean, last year they were just so run heavy because Saquon stayed healthy the entire season. There's just a lot of ways, a lot of outs for Jalen Hurts to not only just be QB4, but be in the running for the QB1 overall. Mm-hmm. If he passes more with the weapons he has at his disposal, I mean, his situation is up and down, just absolutely excellent. And I get that you can poke holes in Jalen Hurts as the NFL passer. Maybe he's not on the level of real life elite passer that some of these other guys are, but this is fantasy football. And what does Jalen Hurts do better than anyone else? Score fantasy points. So I will gladly take him if he falls to me at 6. I love taking him at the back end of this elite tier.
All right. Next up here, after Jalen Hurts, we have Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Bijan Robinson to Scott Bogman. So Boggs, Bijan just fell right into your lap here.
Yeah, Bijan, by the way, Joe. Bijan. We have to get it right for Bijan now. Yes, I just went BPA. I think Rich is right. After you get past the top 5 QBs, it is fairly flat. If you want to put Mayfield and Mahomes ahead of the rest, that's fine, but it is kind of flat after that. So I just went BPA in this spot, and Bijan was the best guy available to me.
All right, now you guys are personal friends. I know that already. So let's get to Bo Nix at 110, and then Saquon Barkley at 111. Rich, you're at the turn here, and you went BPA on the position players. How do you feel about CeeDee Lamb and Jahmyr Gibbs to start this one?
Feels pretty good. You can't do that in a regular 1 QB league. It feels pretty good to get those guys together. Potential, wide receiver 1, RB1. Just believe the Cowboys are going to be throwing the ball. They have a chance to be like this year's like kind of Bengals in a sense from like a year ago. The defense, the secondary's banged up. We don't know if they're going to resolve this Micah Parsons situation. They're really set to throw. We don't like the running back room at all. I think Lamb could easily lead the NFL in targets. And then Jahmyr Gibbs could still be on an ascension. Now, you still have kind of the David Montgomery there, but could the split look a little different under John Morton? There is already some kind of talks that he's going to be more involved in the pass game because it was kind of split even with David Montgomery last year when they were both healthy in terms of the passing game. But still upside here to have the wide receiver 1 and RB1 to open up.
Okay, moving on to the next couple picks here after the second round kicks off. We have Dak Prescott going next, which I was hoping he might make it to me. He did not, so that's unfortunate. Justin Jefferson at 203. Scott Bogman, you did go quarterback for your second pick here, which is the 204, and Kyler Murray.
So boring. But I have 16 picks until I'm up again. I don't know how many of those are going to be QBs, so I feel like I just have to take one. Better to reach in the second than in the first, so Bijan and Murray over, like a Mahomes and Neighbors or something like that. So, it's just the nature of the beast in a super flex.
All right, nature of the beast. Let's see what this beast does next. Malik Neighbors is up at 205, then Devon Achane at 206. Andrew Erickson, you are back up here at 207, and you went wide receiver Nico Collins. Why Nico over Amon-Ra or Brian Thomas Jr., your boy from last year? How could you just toss him to the side so nonchalantly after being so right last season?
Well, I mean, I was also so wrong about Nico Collins, and
Fair.
I don't want to be wrong on him again because this dude is an alpha with CJ Stroud. And I get with Brian Thomas Jr., if you want to pick some holes potentially with him, Travis Hunter looking like he's going to be a full-time player on offense. I think that matters for Brian Thomas Jr. and how he projects to be in this Jacksonville Jaguars passing game. Whereas CJ Stroud to Nico Collins, I've seen it over 2 years, and all it has been is basically been excellent. I don't have to do any projection. Well, how is Brian Thomas Jr. going to do with Trevor Lawrence? A lot of his production at the end of last year came with Mac Jones as his quarterback, not Trevor Lawrence. And yes, it should be an upgrade, but weird things happen. So it's a new offensive coaching staff. I'm just very confident that Nico Collins, when he's healthy, he's going to be the number one passing target for CJ Stroud. So that's where I went in that direction with the receiver.
Christian McCaffrey goes next at 208. I was contemplating Justin Fields, and maybe I should have taken him because he went right after my pick. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, that's a pretty good start to a team. I'm going to play around with this. I'm going to push the envelope today just for the watchers and listeners of the show. I want to see how far I can go and what quarterback might look like in this one. Normally, I would just go right for that Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and not think about it. But I want to see if I can make it work here and challenge myself a little bit since that last mock draft I won against the headliners and Jake Seeley. So we're going to see if I can, push the envelope a little bit further here. So Amon-Ra, then Justin Fields, Jared Goff at 211, Brian Thomas Jr. at 212. Then around the turn, we have Brock Purdy. So 2 QBs go to team 1. Puka Nacua at 302. Then A.J. Brown. And then Brock Bowers was still sitting around there. And I don't think I've taken Brock Bowers on a show all year. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I've got the number 1 wide receiver, the number 1 tight end. I've got a top 5 wide receiver on my team. I don't know what QB is going to look like. Erickson, you better start warming the arm up. I might have to call on you at some point, but we'll see how it goes. Derrick Henry at 305. So Henry, McCaffrey, Jaden Daniels, great start for team 5 there. Andrew Erickson, back to you, and you went RB.
Yeah, I took Ashton Genty. He looked the -1 rushing yards from the preseason really seemed to hit Ashton Genty's ADP because I see him falling all the time now, and it's preseason. I'm not going to overreact to the Raiders' offensive line where they didn't have a lot of their starters playing. I mean, it was a couple of years ago. Remember when Jamar Chase couldn't catch the ball in the preseason?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ended up falling in drafts because people were freaking out, and it took all 1 week for that to be corrected. So yeah, I'm seeing a dip with Ashton Genty, and I'm going to take advantage of it. Getting him as the RB7 here. I have him ranked as a top 5 running back, so getting him here at the 306. Again, I was debating hard because I love Drake London too, between Genty and London, but because I went receiver with Nico Collins, I felt I can lock in Genty as my hero RB.
Boggs, you got to admit, too, sometimes, when you get into preseason mode here, we are so excited for football that we hyperventilate a little bit, meaning the royal we here about some of the good and the bad things that we see in preseason.
I mean, it happens every single year, and we always do it. We overhype the big plays or the highlights from camp and all of that stuff. And it's, or so you go to a camp one day and you see a bunch of guys that are, the defense is being aggressive, so the quarterback doesn't look good. And you say, oh, well, whoever looks like crap, the quarterback looks bad. It's just, it's too quick. It moves too fast. So yes, I think we all are guilty of overhyping the preseason on occasion. So.
All right. Genty goes, then Josh Jacobs, Drake London. Then at 309, Scott Bogman, you selected another tight end, the second one off the board, Trey McBride.
Brutal run for me because I saw Bowers about when you did, and you took him. I went, okay. Shouldn't have expected that to happen. But then I saw Genty and London still on the board. I really wanted those guys. And Genty went to Erickson, and then London went 1 pick before me. So I pivoted to Trey McBride because I think he just gives me the best RPV at this position right here, Joey. There's about 3 tight ends that are really good, and then after that, it kind of is a question.
And if you're wondering when RPV is, go buy a Fantasy Black Book over on Amazon. Andrew Erickson, Derek Brown, Scott Bogman, relative position value, and of course me, Joey P. All of our hard work is in the Black Book. It's available right now. Updated August 1st, too, not like those other dopey guides. And we get the digital cheat sheet, so go pick up your copy. That's an unofficial read, by the way. We're just having fun here on the show. I want to know what people are talking about here. Let's get to Caleb Williams at 310, then Kyron Williams, and then, Rich, you had two more selections. You did take another running back, and you also went QB here, Drake Maye, stealing a guy I was hoping would last a little bit longer. So why Drake Maye over guys with more track record like Herbert, Love, or Lawrence in this scenario?
I don't want to, pander to Erickson here, but Drake May's my QB9. He's literally my number one QB target when I don't get one of the premier quarterbacks. He comes with everything we want for age trajectory. He runs. He's getting immense offensive upgrades, and I would include, Josh McDaniels, who also, there's a reason Josh McDaniels gets a chance to fail at a head coach as many times as he had, is because he can coach offense. But adding the infrastructure of, Stephon Diggs, Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, two solid players like Pop Douglas and Hunter Henry, adding Morgan Moses, Garrett Bradbury, and we'll see, how a rookie and Will Campbell plays on the left side, but he's definitely an upgrade of potentially of whatever they had just by proxy of clearing a low bar of what they put out at left tackle last year. I'm definitely Drake Maye pilled. I think he's going to be an absolute, fantasy. I mean, like I said, I think he's going to outscore guys like Bo Nix and Baker Mayfield who regularly go over him. So yeah, I'm definitely Maye pilled.
It's funny. We actually just had this conversation yesterday, and I want to say Fitzy has him at 9 as well. I also have him as a low-end QB1 this year, so a lot of us are in on Drake Maye. And just, so everybody knows out there too, like these are the opportunities here where if you feel good about a player, if you've done the research, you've done the homework, and you believe, ADP isn't the truth. ADP is polling. It just gives you an idea of where the consensus value is. It doesn't mean that it's absolutely where these players are going to finish. So having strong opinions, especially in the Superflex on certain quarterbacks, that's very important. Now, some of these picks, unfortunately, did not go my way. I was hoping a couple QBs would slip. They did not. Before we get to the names in this next round, you want to get in the game? Well, Best Ball is live right now at DraftKings. $15 million is on the line with real stakes and real excitement. The Best Ball right now is the biggest fantasy contest at DraftKings. And we're talking $15 million in prize pool with 2 millionaires being crowned for first and second place. Not too bad. Second place gets $1 million. And if you want a shot at winning a share of $50 million and it's not enough to get you excited, well, check this out. DraftKings is offering everyone a draft one, get one special. Your $20 entry fee scores you a bonus ticket. Download the DraftKings app now. Use your promo code FANTASYPROS. That's FANTASYPROS for all customers who enter NFL Best Ball $15 million millionaire contest to get a bonus ticket and get a shot at being crowned one of 2 millionaires only on DraftKings. All right, let's get to the next couple picks here. After the flag was planted on Drake Maye, we had Jordan Love go. I was hoping he might slip. He did not. Garrett Wilson went. Justin Herbert went to you, Scott Bogman. So we are even now because that was the other QB I was hoping might sneak by, but Scott Bogman, you picked him off. And he's my second quarterback in that flex draft that I was referencing earlier. I started with Burrow, and then I got Herbert a few rounds later. And I feel like we have sort of a short-term memory when it comes to Justin Herbert. And I'm old enough to remember when he set the rookie record for passing yards and when he threw for 5,000 yards, he was QB2 in 2021. Now, granted, 2023 he had some injuries. Last year, it was a new offense, certainly a more run-heavy theoretical attack, but he was really efficient with the football. 23 touchdowns, just 3 picks last year. I think he can get back over the 4,000-yard mark easily this year, and I think Herbert's one of these guys that can sneak back into that QB1 conversation. Boggs, you must agree because you took him as well.
Yeah, just high floor. And again, this is a super flex mock. Quarterbacks are not going as quickly as they typically do in some of the drafts that I've done. And I don't know who's coming back. I got 16 picks between me and the next pick. So it's getting kind of thin at QB. I feel like I need to go with a QB here, and Herbert was the highest on my board, so he offers a nice floor. I like what you did in the next round here, Joe. I'll say that as
all right.
A tease.
All right, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But yeah, you're right. I feel like this year Superflex, and I wrote about this in the Black Book because I write up all the QBs every year, and I looked at the board, and this year I felt so much better about it than I did the last couple of years. There was so much youth and inexperience, and there's still some youth there at the position, but it's a little bit more, I think, palatable this season. And I think quarterback is deeper, but there is a drop-off, and then the drop-off is taking calculated risks on guys that haven't shown you yet, whether it be rookie quarterbacks or guys who didn't play last year. We're going to talk about one of them in just a second, again, continuing the tease. But I think there are some ways, because remember, Jaden Daniels That's a guy that I actually was high on last year that a lot of people were still like, oh, let's wait and see what he was. Jaden Daniels was a league winner in Superflex last year because you got him at probably a second or third round, if not maybe later, depending on who you were drafting with. After Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Erickson, you went running back here, Jonathan Taylor. So Genty and Taylor, how do you feel about that duo?
I feel really good about it. Again, locking in two guys that should be bell cows. I get that Jonathan Taylor doesn't necessarily have the ton of appeal in terms of the full PPR, but I'm getting him as my RB2 in the 4th round. Again, this is what you want to take advantage of in Superflex with guys that maybe you're kind of on the fence on in one quarterback leagues where they go. You're going to get opportunities to scoop up some talent that maybe is going to go a little bit later. And Jonathan Taylor, not someone I'm necessarily targeting in a lot of the one quarterback leagues, but I just think here as my RB2, I think that he's a good value in the middle of the 4th round. And I think that he's still at the end of that other tier when then we get into running backs that I feel less confident about, just like their projected workload throughout the season. So I wanted to kind of get access to Taylor that way.
Okay, after that selection of Taylor, CJ Stroud. So again, no quarterbacks for me. Any of those guys. Love, Herbert, Lawrence, Stroud. I was like, I can get one of those. Nope, wasn't happening. Not in this room, not today. So Bucky Irving instead, the pivot, because Draft Wizard's very smart, and it told me that all the teams that are picking after me at team 3, 2, and 1 all have 2 quarterbacks. So even though I might be pressed for a quarterback, I shouldn't do it. And those are the kind of insights that are going to pop up there when you're on the clock. They're really helpful. So if you haven't already, make sure you sync your leagues. Make sure you are using our software. Download Draft Wizard. Make sure that you are using the features like cheat sheets. Again, it's going to give you insights. And look, the draft intel features too, and the draft sync features, it's going to sync up directly to your draft, give you suggestions on picks, give you analysis, give you reasons why, and give you insights like the one I just told you, where you might go, oh my God, I'm panicking. I got to take a quarterback. No, you don't. Look, those teams already have one. Go this way. You'll be fine. And I did get the QB I did want there. So Bucky Irving at 409. He's my hero RB. We had a great discussion about him just yesterday on that show as well on the Fantasy Court. Go check it out. Watch me yell at our dog, too, who was getting in the trash. Hilarious moments there. Jackson Smith and Jigba at 410. Then Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, around the horn in the 5th round. James Cook, who just got paid. Love me some James Cook. Everybody's devaluing him except me. Breece Hall, 502. Alvin Kamara. And then J.J. McCarthy at 504. So, Boggs, look, you alluded to it, so I'm going to let you speak to it. I think the upside is, maybe he struggles a little bit in September because he hasn't played football in a year. But I do believe in Kevin O'Connell. I believe in what's around him. And I believe that J.J. McCarthy has the right mentality and the right focus. He's been a year in this offense learning it already. Now he's just got to go out and apply what he's learned.
Yeah, and I mean, look, last year they ran the ball a little bit more because Sam Darnold was the starter. They weren't sure what was going to happen there. Obviously, McCarthy suffered the injury. They went to Darnold and they ran the ball more, but they made Darnold look great. I believe he was QB9 in points per game last season, and he's been miserable everywhere else. McCarthy just didn't have to pass the ball a lot in Michigan because they were run first, play defense, and they won the national championship. This dude's got a lot of skill that we just haven't seen rise to the surface yet, so I think it's a great ceiling pick for you, specifically because you haven't had a quarterback yet. So,
well,
great selection there.
Swinging for the fences here because I have no choice, so we'll see how it works out. After J.J. McCarthy, DJ Moore goes, and then Andrew Erickson goes tight end, George Kittle in the 5th round. Talk to me about Kittle's role this year in 2025 and how it might be different potentially with some of these wide receivers eventually returning or getting healthy or getting paid. I don't know. It looks kind of messy to me. Looks like another clear path for a big Kittle season, Andrew.
Yeah, there's only one constant every single year with the 49ers. It's George Kittle, top 5 fantasy tight end. Last year, he was first in points per game. So in a sense where the situation with the 49ers, maybe he sees a little bit more consistent volume this year. But you know that he has those spike weeks where he can have multiple touchdowns, go over 100 yards in a game. We know that Brock Purdy trusts him. He's efficient in the Kyle Shanahan offense. And I'm getting him in round 5 compared to where Brock Bowers and Trey McBride both went in round 3. I think I'm going to get a lot of good value with George Kittle.
Okay, value for George Kittle. Next up after Kittle, Marvin Harrison, Ken Walker, and then Scott Bogman taking old reliable Mike Evans. Now, Mike Evans, the first receiver you've taken here. You went RB, QB, tight end, QB. Still a wide receiver 1, Boggs. You got to feel pretty good about getting Mike Evans here this late.
I mean, just got 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns in 4 of the last 5 seasons
in the
this
5th round.
So, yeah, I'm okay with that. I understand, maybe a little shine has come off of him because Emeka Egbuka is the shiny new toy and all that stuff, and that's fun, but Mike Evans is going to get his. He does every single year, and I don't expect him to slow down quite yet.
All right, after Evans and Amari and Hampton. And then speaking of wide receivers, we had a little bit of a run here. We had Devontae Adams go, and then Rich, you took 2 more. It was 4 in a row. Let's talk about your selections here. Tedero McMillan and Rashee Rice. I just did a video a couple hours ago, Rich, where I was talking about guys who can jump a tier, guys who you draft as 2s that can become 1s potentially, or at least have 1-like production certain weeks, guys you could draft at wide receiver 3 that can produce like a 2, 4s, the 3s, etc., etc. Ted McMillan, to me, feels like a guy that you're drafting as a high-end 3 in his ADP, quote unquote. He's going somewhere around, the 27th, 28th player overall, wide receiver overall. But the upside is what we saw last year from Brian Thomas Jr. That's how good it could be for McMillan.
Yeah, again, when I'm picking at the end here and trying to have a different structure to combat the teams that have better quarterback situations, I'm looking for more ceiling plays and more upside at the skill play spots. I need to drop hammers. So I'm looking for 2 guys that can really, really spike and beat their ADP by a lot. And Ted McMillan, just, rookie wide receiver. I think he's getting a little bit dinged because of what happened with Marvin Harrison Jr., which oddly coincided in a year that happened where Malik Neighbors was one of the best values at rookie wide receiver. So it's interesting how people choose their arguments in those directions. But you have to be really encouraged too about the start of the preseason. Again, just preseason, it's just practice, but literally was out there every single play and getting the opportunities right away. That I think he's going to be a guy that definitely pushes 125 plus targets, and hopefully we can get him and Bryce Young a little bit connection here. So like you said, to jump and be like more of a wide receiver 2+.
Yeah, in the Rashee Rice selection at 601, look, that's a pick where there's going to be some time missed theoretically, and the question is, when is the right time to pull the trigger on that pick? And for you, it was round 6. It was over Terry McLaurin, who, again, is still waiting for a contract as of recording this. It was over DK Metcalf and a few others. Why Rashee Rice, who's already is going to miss time, over some of those other names that, again, have some warts and have some issues, but at least we know, at least theoretically, DK Metcalf is slated to be there week 1.
Yeah, I mean, just because his ceiling's high, so much higher. I mean, this is a guy that's average. This is a full PPR league. His last 9 games, he's averaged 19.5 PPR points per game. I do believe when he does return, he will be the offense is still going to go back and flow through him, especially when you look at the opening month of the season. Like, their schedule is awful, the Chiefs, the opening month too. So he's going to miss potentially even that. But also, gamers are really bad at understanding replacement value. It's been a while since we had a receiver suspended at the beginning of the season, but I did write about this back when Julian Edelman was suspended in 2018, that when he missed the opening game, first 4 games because of PEDs, and he plummeted to wide receiver 30. Chris Hogan makes the spike because gamers like, well, he's going to start the year, but your team is going through the largest strength that it's going to have, meaning like you don't have guys on bye, you don't have injuries yet in your roster. If you just get baseline replacement value, and at the front of the season, you're projected to get higher than baseline value. I have Rashee Rice. I dinged him for projection. I brought him down to 16.5 points per game, figuring they can't bring Worthy, like a rebottle Worthy completely, ding him a little bit for the injury. But then also factor in a 4-game suspension. And if you just do baseline replacement value, he still comes out as the wide receiver 14 overall for the whole season. And that's if you just get baseline replacement value. If you have any of these guys that are your wide receiver 4, your wide receiver 5, that are just better than replacement value players this opening month of the season, that is spikes even higher, right? So most gamers get spooked by the little bit of the missed time at the beginning of the season when it really kind of is overblown. So he's a guy I'm still hammering in like the 5th, 6th round, because I definitely believe he offers league winning potential, especially for the stretch of the season that we care about the most, the back half.
It's a great breakdown, really specific and really important too, because I think a lot of people who are watching the show today have a lot of questions about Rashee Rice. When should I not? And I think Rich.
And I think it definitely is like more, like I said, roster dependent too. Like like where I'm picking, I want to aim for a little bit higher upside. So,
he's your third wideout in this build. So is that where you're comfortable too, or would you rather him be a 4?
I mean, I would rather him as late as I can get him, but like, you can typically get him.
That is the right answer. Show me as late as I can get him.
But again, when you look at the guys that took Rashee Rice over here, like guys like, like Devontae Smith or like a DK, like these are guys that I think are more like safer picks, but don't offer like that potential tide turner in a season type of role, right? And for my type of roster, I want to still shoot for those guys. I think I can get some of those guys. Like I'm at this turn right now, and I can add a Stephon Diggs. I can add a Chris Olave.
Well, don't
guys,
spoil the draft here.
But you know what I mean? Like guys
Yeah.
who offer insulation in terms of target value
Sure.
and can get me that nice bridge through those opening 4 to 6 weeks to when he returns to the lineup.
One more question, Rich. Had Devontae Adams made it there, would you have taken Adams over Rice? Because he went right before you.
Probably just because I'm now also staring at where I could add Matthew Stafford on a dip, and then it would have gave me a nice little stack, which would have been fun. I would have gave that some consideration.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. So after Rushy Rice, Terry McLaurin, Sam Laporta, Scott Bogman, again, knife in the heart, Bog. I thought we were friends. I don't understand why you do this to me. And Andrew's on the show, too. I should have known. There was no way I was getting Travion Henderson. 604 certainly looked pretty good in that first preseason game, Boggs. Again, let's not overrate things. But look, man, explosiveness is what the Patriots offense has lacked for years, plural, and this guy brings it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just, I have Bijan, one of the safest running backs in the league. So let's put some upside next to him. And I think Henderson is almost all upside here. And he's a dude, a lot like Achane. You don't have to have him touch the ball 25 times a game to break a big one, as displayed on his kick return in the preseason. So this dude, I mean, I saw him break the back of my Longhorns, right? So he is an outstanding running back. He's going to get a lot of usage, and he's already better than Stevenson. So pretty much 100% upside selection there for me.
Okay, Travion Henderson goes to Bogman, then Chuba Hubbard goes next, 606, DK Metcalf, and then Andrew Erickson took RJ Harvey at 607. I got him in a draft yesterday, and I'm really starting to warm up to the RJ Harvey value that is on the board, typically ADP-wise. I mean, right now he is the 24th RB going off the board, and if you're an early wide receiver build, he's sitting there a lot of times for you in a perfect spot. So talk to me about Harvey and his upside, and look, had a nice little run there on the weekend as well. A nice little turn the corner there. So what do you take out of his preseason debut, and what are your expectations for him this season?
Well, he got the start for the game after being RB5 on the depth chart. So we had the J.K. Dobbins, the victory laps, just they were non-existent after RJ Harvey started that game. Now, we also have this whole helmet thing going on where Dobbins was supposed to start the game. We don't really know. So we'll find out preseason week 2. I'm sure Sean Payne's cooking something up for us to overanalyze, which would be a lot of fun. But I just think that, Harvey was someone that I was ranking near Henderson anyway. So when Boggs pulled the trigger on Henderson, I'm like, all right, is it time to pull up RJ Harvey? I looked at the board, and I do need wide receivers, but I felt like with the receivers that would be available to be at my next pick, that I still would be able to get a guy I felt really good about. Whereas at running back, I felt like, okay, I want to capture some upside here. I have Genty, I have Jonathan Taylor, especially when it comes to the pass catching. And we just know that Sean Payton offenses love to target the running back out of the backfield. I believe that RJ Harvey can do that. And they have a good offensive line. It's just a really good situation for RJ Harvey to run to touches. And yes, I think that he will have some type of split to start the year with J.K. Dobbins, but we know that Dobbins isn't a guy that he's not going to stay healthy all year. He gets banged up every single season. Yeah. And so in the second half of the year, especially if either Jonathan Taylor or Ashton Genty breaks down just because of the sheer amount of volume, I have RJ Harvey as well as an RB2 in flex play.
Okay, let's get to the next pick here after RJ Harvey, Xavier Worthy, and then I took Cortland Sutton. So I feel pretty good about him as my third wide receiver there. I just think it's a copy and paste season for him. I think he's the clear number 1. I know his role. I know his relationship with Bo Nix. 81 catches, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. Works for me. I will take it. So give it to me again. After Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, James Conner, and the end of the 6th round, Devonta Smith. Beginning of the 7th, George Pickens, hoping he was going to get to me. He did not. Zay Flowers, Roma Dunze. And then it's funny because I had the same dilemma in the flex draft 2 weeks ago, where I said, where Jameson Williams was there, but I already had Amon-Ra St. Brown. That team at 4 started Joe Burrow, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London. I absolutely loved it. Could not get enough of that start. And then later, there was a value on Jameson Williams, and I was like, do I want to go in for that many Lions wide receivers? The answer that day was no. The answer today was yes. So, yeah, J-Mo is my flex guy right now. Adding him along with Brock Bowers to this group of pass catchers feels pretty good to me. Travis Kelce goes next at 705. Then another Travis, back-to-back Travises. Andrew Erickson, you took Travis Hunter at 706. Let's talk about his role here because he is your number 2 wide receiver. I know you have Kittle, and whenever you go and take that early tight end, sometimes a wide receiver doesn't always look as good. But still, Travis Hunter is your number 2. Does that worry you at all?
No, Because he's playing on offense. He checked off the box I was looking for as a player that they're going to deploy on offense first, and he's going to probably moonlight a little bit more on the defensive side of things for the Jaguars this season. He was taken second overall in the NFL draft. He has the draft capital, super talented player, and I think that in round 7, I think that he's a value here. Now, I was also considering Calvin Ridley here as well, so I think from a value perspective, Ridley probably comes with the higher floor, but I still want to shoot for that just so high ceiling with a player like a Travis Hunter who could just be a total unicorn. So that's why I went with him at 706.
Shout out to Sonos for supporting today's show, whether it's a Monday night where I'm sitting home watching the football games, or I'm flipping back and forth between all the games on Sunday, or even college football on Saturdays. If I want to feel like I'm in the game, there's only one way to do it, and that's the sound of Sonos. Whether it is on the go with the headphones or the home theater experience, nothing takes you into the event live, feeling like you're in the stadium like Sonos. And I'm telling you right now, if you care about sound, you care about the experience of your sports, of your movies, Sonos is for you. It delivers incredible studio quality, and it makes it easy to really enjoy and enhance all of your entertainment levels. Take them to the next level. The home theater system I've got in my house, let me tell you something. It is next level. It's easy to set up. Sometimes those things are complicated. Sonos is not. They make it easy to up your experience level. And I'm telling you right now, the Sonos soundbar, way better than the old one I used to have. So much better. The Ace headphones too. You want to talk about quality. You want to talk about battery life. Up to 30 hours of battery. You get 3 hours of playback with a 3-minute charge. That's incredible. So right now, I want you to visit Sonos.com to learn more and explore the full Sonos lineup. Because if you're serious about great sound for football, for podcasts, for music, whatever it might be, you've got to check out Sonos. Again, visit Sonos.com to learn more and explore the full lineup: headphones, sound bars, home theater systems. Sonos has you covered. And now, back to the action. Okay, 706 is done. The next pick after is Juwan Jennings and Tua Tagovailoa. And then Scott Bogman, Calvin Ridley, another guy who I think is starting to become one of those sneaky, undervalued players. You look at the unrealized air yards for him last year in terms of reception. He was one of the leaders, and it feels like just a little bit better quarterback play can certainly go a long way for him. He still had 64 catches for 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns, but I think Cam Ward is a huge upgrade. I know some people look at Cam Ward and they don't think he's the same. It's not like Jaden Daniels coming in or something like that, but the seriousness of that kid and the work ethic of that kid, I believe a lot of what I've seen out of Cam Ward, what I've heard out of Cam Ward, and it seems like a kid who's really willing to put the work in. And typically when you get to the NFL level, that pays off. Will it pay off for Calvin Ridley as well?
I think so. I mean, you mentioned the air yards, and Cam Ward, pretty good at throwing the deep ball last year at Miami, and is more than willing to hold on to that ball too long to make the deep ball hero throw, as our boy Pat Fitzmaurice has pointed out in critiquing a little bit of Cam Ward in his game coming in as a rookie. So I think they're going to have a lot of big plays together in this offense, and this was kind of like, okay, I took Henderson, right? And then this next 16 picks, 11 were wideouts. So Ridley was really kind of the last one that I wanted out of this group, so I was happy that Erickson did not take him because he took Travis Hunter, which would have been a nice backup as well, but Erickson and I talked about Ridley a couple weeks ago on ITL, and Ridley has been moving up my board a little bit here recently.
Aaron Jones at 710, then TJ Hawkinson, Stephon Diggs, Rich Hribar. That's a guy that I drafted when last we were together in a room, and I think a great value, so you alluded to taking him, and you did it, and Bryce Young as your number 2 QB. So Drake Maye, Bryce Young, you got some good value there at the QB position. I think the interesting stack there of McMillan and Bryce Young and Stephon Diggs and Drake Maye. Let's talk about that for a second, Rich, because a lot of people will ask that question here of us all the time. Should I look to stack guys? Should I not? I always say the same answer. If you're going to get Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on a team, yes. Yes, 1,000% yes. They can be different kind of stacks too. I like the one where you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson because you control all the scoring in the offense. To me, that's a great way to go. But when it just falls in your lap sometimes and it makes sense, that also works potentially. Now, bye weeks could be a challenge, but Rich, what do you say to people when they ask you that question about, do I want to pair, especially in Superflex leagues, the number 1 wide receiver on the team of the quarterback that I picked?
I never go out of my way to stack, but when it just happens, it's something I like the symmetry because I've already either bet on one of the other players, right? Like when I take Tet McMillan, I've already made like an inherent bet onto a level on Bryce Young. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add him to that
Right.
roster, like when it makes sense. I was worried, that was a spot where I was at the turn and coming back, and there hasn't been a quarterback taken since the Bryce Young pick, but that was a spot where I was really worried about, like, hey, if I don't take my guy here that I think offers a little bit upside, could I just get froze out, right? So that was where being on the turn may have like forced the pick a little bit, but it did also make sense, I think, with having Tet, but I love that too as well. So it did work out. I would have loved to take Ricky Pearsall there, who not the tease you're going to talk about there, because like Pearsall's like was the guy I would have taken if I would have tried to push one more round.
I feel like Pearsall, the guys that every quote unquote analyst that I know somewhere is talking about. Yeah, Pearsall is a good value. I mean, I was in a draft yesterday. I also took him in that draft. I feel really good about the way it seems to be shaking out for him this preseason, where it seems like he's kind of the guy by default, and that's okay. And it's funny too, because if you're going to go out on a limb on Tet McMillan, you better be confident of Bryce Young. Otherwise, what the hell are you bidding on Tet McMillan for? So after Bryce Young, we have Chris Godwin at 802, Jerry Jeudy at 803. Boggs, you went RB here. Isaiah Pacheco. So that is your third RB. And you talked about him recently in the show, in a short video that we recorded too, about Isaiah Pacheco being a guy that's falling in drafts. And real quick, recap for everybody the reason why you're taking him then.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, there's a lot of talent at running back this year. The Chiefs added Brashard Smith, who is fine, but they could have gone out of their way to get a big-name running back if they didn't think Pacheco was going to come back healthy, and they didn't do that. So I think, and, Deepak Chona on the Sunday show, when Pacheco got hurt, said he'll come back at the end of this year, but he won't look the same until he can fully rest this injury. And I'm banking on that, right? Like Deepak Chona told us, this is a type of injury that you can come back from. You're not going to play the same until you actually properly rest it. Properly rested in the offseason. I feel like he's going to be the guy, and he's at the head of one of the most potent offenses in the league. So I just think he's a good pick here, and I think a bunch of running backs are going to go after I take this pick, and I was right. So.
DeAndre Swift goes next, then Chris Olave, Ricky Pearsall to Andrew Erickson. So Andrew showing you where the value is late if you do, hammer running back early, which he has, and the Superflex too. He got Nico. Then he went not only George Kittle, but also another running back in RJ Harvey. So we had three running backs before getting a second wide receiver. But then after that, Andrew, you took Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall, and I know you went wide out with your next pick as well.
Yeah, just trying to capture some of these late round wide receivers. I usually like to be shopping for the running backs at this time of the draft, but just the way that the value kind of fell to me, I'm now kind of trying to play catch up at receiver. And I think that Pearsall, I just think that he's one of the best picks on the board that you can make, regardless of format, where he's going outside the top 40 wide receivers. He's a former first-round pick that had a lost season because he suffered a gunshot wound, and most receivers would have done absolutely nothing, and that should have been the expectation, but he still was able to show out at the end of the season, weeks 17 and 18, and when we talked about it with the 49ers, I already have George Kittle, so I'm doing a little 49ers stacking. There's a opportunity for Ricky Pearsall to just step in from day one and be Brock Purdy's go-to guy. Last year they didn't have the time to build the chemistry together because Pearsall was rehabbing the entire offseason. So he didn't come back till midway through the year. So much going on in his mind. And they've talked about it at training camp where he just seems like he's a player that's ready to take that leap into year two. We see tons of receivers, even if they don't fire as rookies, take significant leaps going from year one to year two. So where he's going right now, it wouldn't surprise me if he puts up like a Jackson Smith and Jigba type of season where after year one, we're all kind of like, kind of disappointed. He goes in round 8, round 9, and then he comes back year 2 and has a monster season. So I think Pearsall is just a really good bet to make, especially the price he's going at.
Okay, after that selection there of Ricky Pearsall, Joe Mixon, then I took Tony Pollard, who all he does every single year is get you 1,000 yards rushing and about half a dozen touchdowns. And I'll take that as my RB2. That's fine. He was RB21 last year, RB14 the year before, and with the injury right now to Tajay Spears, he's got the free reign of that backfield. Now, I was hoping to double up on RB, but that did not happen because of the run that happened next. Evan Ingram went, then David Montgomery, Caleb Johnson, so I wanted Johnson there, and I said, all right, well, maybe I'll get Travis Etienne as a flyer. That didn't happen either. 901, Deebo Samuel, Jordan Addison, then Travis Etienne went right before me. Knife in the heart, Draft Wizard. Knife in the heart. I see you. And this is why I use Draft Wizard, because a lot of the other mock draft softwares that exist, they're just not good. All the tweaks you can make on this one, you can have settings like in the Superflex where quarterbacks go early or quarterbacks go later, depending on what happens in your draft. And again, Draft Intel, if you have a league that's been going on for 5-6 years, it'll create robots for your specific league based on the tendencies of the people you draft with. And that is invaluable. So my pivot was take the tight end that I like that's still on the board because Ingram just went and now tight end's getting thin. Mark Andrews is my guy, the touchdown maker. That's what I want. Jacoby Myers goes at 905. Then Matthew Golden, boy, oh boy, Scott Bogman's going to be salty. You didn't get to take Matthew Golden, 906. So clearly the young wide receiver room Andrew Erickson's building. This isn't Dynasty, Andrew. This is redraft. But you think that Matthew Golden can make an impact this season?
Yeah, I'm definitely shifting my tone on Matthew Golden. I really thought that he was going to be more of a real-life asset for the Packers, but then Jaden Reed is now in a walking boot. The Packers receivers, not named Matthew Golden, continue to just drop passes. Just like, I'm like, guys, like we spent all offseason. You're not going to drop as many passes. Preseason starts. Romeo Doubs in peak form already dropping passes out of the backfield. Or it's just like running routes. It's just ridiculous. And that's the one thing I remember scouting Golden was when you need them to catch a ball, convert a third down, catch a touchdown, Matthew Golden's going to come through. So I think that's going to matter a lot. He's going to have the opportunity. He's a first-round pick. And, yeah, so I brought him up the board. I moved him up in my rankings, and that's why I took him 906.
Boggs, isn't it nice to see that everyone coming around to our feelings on Matthew Golden after all this time?
Definitely doesn't want me to make slap the taste out of Erickson's mouth. I'm taking Golden right there. So, pretty upset with that pick. As everyone knows, I've gushed about Matthew Golden ad nauseum. But, yeah, I mean, just a great pairing there of Pearsall and Golden. A couple upside plays, you know, a second-year guy and a rookie. I went with the second-year guy as well. On my next pick, it went Kupp. After that, Brian Robinson, and I took Keon Coleman because I was waiting for one of I wanted, like, Addison is falling. I know he's going to miss the first 3 games, but just such value here. Jacoby Myers was another guy I was looking at, but Matthew Golden was my parachute, and the parachute went on fire. So I love Keon Coleman, but I don't have a lot of catches in my squad here. It's a lot of long passes with Ridley, Evans, and Coleman. So going to have to get some floor here at wide receiver.
I'm surprised you didn't take Egbuka. That, to me, that was the one that
I have Evans.
Well, I mean, I have Jameson Williams, and I'm on Raw. I mean, like, what are we going to do
I want
here?
to do the bye week thing.
Talent is talent. See, I'm always okay with the bye week. I'd rather have all my players on one bye week and just take an L than, like, constantly. Like, it's true. I mean, I never look at bye weeks ever because when you get towards the very end of the draft, like, oh, is there somebody here? And it's between 2 guys, and you know, in Superflex, okay, you look at the bye weeks, right? Because you're trying to figure out, okay, who's not going to be around for, you know, my quarterbacks. That's fair. But I think that's a mistake people make. The draft is for one thing, getting as much talent on your roster as you possibly can. The waiver wire's there, trades are there. Get talent. Get the best players you have, because I think sometimes when you pivot off talent is when you start to get in trouble, when you're filling out a roster. Tyrone Tracy goes, Michael Pittman goes, and then, Rich, you took Jalen Warren, and he took another QB, which started another QB run. Thanks, Rich. Why don't you just give me a paper cut and pour lemon juice on it while you're at it? Jalen Warren and Michael Penix. So why Penix over, say, Matthew Stafford or Geno Smith, who finished as, ironically, I think nobody remembers, QB 13 last year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for more just like the upside, the mobility, right? The factor that, you know, Penix could run more. Also, I think that Atlanta, when you look at their situation, I mean, there could be some low-key, like, Jameis Winston-esque qualities here for this Atlanta offense. I do believe Zach Robinson inherently wants to be balanced, but then look at the opening schedule for the Falcons. They played Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Carolina, Washington, Buffalo, San Francisco, Miami. Like, with that defense, like, this is a team that's going to be pushed into high tempo and high, you know, chasing the scoreboard situations. And when we saw Penix start in the 2 games where they couldn't stop the 2 offenses they faced, one of them oddly was Carolina and Washington, and they scored. Those are 2 30-point games back and forth, 60-point combined games, that is, where both teams scored 30 points. So I wanted to get another guy at that turn just to give me another bullet to play, like matchups or have some flexibility, because my guys are more like QB2, like upside type of play. So I just wanted to have another guy in that hopper.
All right, so another guy in the hopper for Rich Hribar after Penix, Quinshon Judkins, Emeka Egbuka, Team 10. You almost got Egbuka anyway, but instead, Boggs, you went and you picked up Cam Ward. Again, your third quarterback, might add. Both of you taking your third quarterbacks. Before I took my second, I guess I gambled and I lost. I was waiting one more round to see. I was like, hey, I can get Ward, I can get Penix, I can get Geno. I didn't get any of them. All 3 went in this round. I can't believe it as third quarterback. So thanks, guys. Actually, no. Andrew took Geno as a second. So let me... I apologize.
We can believe it because we have this side chat going on saying, hey, let's box out Joe out of quarterback, so he has to take Matthew Stafford and his broken back as his QB2. Good job, guys.
Matthew Stafford needs a backiotomy. That's what he needs. Let's get to that selection of Cam Ward. Boggs, I spoke glowingly about him before. I think he is getting... I think all the media take on him right now is like, he's good, but he wouldn't have been as good if he didn't go, if he went like last year, he wouldn't have gone as early and all this stuff. And I'm like, I feel like for a kid like Cam Ward, that's the best thing for him because he just keeps hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. And I feel like that just pushes him a little bit further. And I'm not in love with the coaching staff there, but I do think there's enough around him where it can be improved and successful. And I think he landed in a spot where, again, he's going to start day one as your third QB. I love it. I love taking that flyer on Cam Ward.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you just said. It's all upside. I don't have to start him. I've got Murray and Herbert, so I can let him adjust as a rookie for the first month or so and then run him out there if it is working. I know we said this isn't Jaden Daniels, but we didn't expect Jaden Daniels to be Jaden Daniels. So Cam Ward's just got a ton of upside here, and going this late, I think maybe you should have got in a little bit earlier, Joey. That's all.
Yeah, look, I should. Again, I'm trying to do a zero QB. Well, we'll see. I've still got some shots here left to take. I'm not dead yet, everybody. Cam Ward, J.K. Dobbins, then we have Khalil Shakir, and then Andrew, you took Geno right from under me. I was like, okay, I'm going to get Geno here. Everything's going to be okay. It was not. Geno Smith, look, he's playing with Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers. I think if you're in Superflex, you could do worse than Geno Smith. He came off another 4,000-yard season, 4,300 last year, 21 touchdowns. Now, he did throw 15 picks, so you got to hope that there's a big improvement there. But I think getting back together with Pete Carroll, I think, is a good thing potentially here for Geno Smith. And I think another guy that maybe just a time for a change of scenery. What are your thoughts on Geno this year, Andrew?
I think you did a great job of selling my pick and how great it was. Getting Geno Smith here in round 10, attached to all these weapons. And, the thing that I cannot get out of my mind when I think about Geno Smith, it was something that we talked about in one of the betting shows where if you bet on the team that is basically a consensus bottom 5 offensive line before the season starts, that team usually will finish under its projected wins total. The one team that has bucked the trend the past 2 seasons has been the Seattle Seahawks, with Geno Smith as their quarterback. So this guy has shown that even behind not necessarily the best offensive line, he's been able to operate and help his team win games. So is the Raiders' offensive line the best? Probably not. I think that at best it can be average. And to your point, this is Chip Kelly's offense. You're expecting some fast pace. You have Jacoby Myers. You have Brock Bowers. You have Ashton Genty. I have Genty on this team too, so more Raiders stacking. Raiders 49ers games. Can't wait for them to be high scoring for my team.
Can't wait. Let's go. Geno Smith off the board. Jaden Reed goes next. And then I did take old man Matthew Stafford. Look, he's old and his back hurts. Stop making him play in the preseason. You want to play in the postseason. That's where you want Matthew Stafford. He'll be fine. He's in LA. It's like, you wake up, you have your macchiato, and you go and you watch practice. He's 37. What do we want for Matthew Stafford? He'll be fine in week 1. At least I hope. That's what I'm telling myself so I can sleep tonight after this draft. Next, but I did take some more shots coming soon. Cam Scatterboo goes next at 10-10, then Javonte Williams, Jordan Mason to end round 10, Josh Downs at 11-01, then Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, and then I threw a dart at Anthony Richardson. Why not? It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be points, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
To me, if quarterback gets away from you, and you're looking at old man Aaron Rodgers, and I can't put Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford on the same team. I mean, I don't have enough room, and there's not enough AARP discounts on this roster to go around. I've only got one card to give out, and I'm giving it to Stafford. So, Aaron Rodgers, you're out. I'm going to take a shot on Anthony Richardson. See what happens. Worst case scenario, doesn't pan out again. But best case scenario, Rich Hribar, best case scenario of Anthony Richardson is what I said, which is it doesn't look pretty, but my God, it's good for fantasy.
Yeah, he's still top 5 in points per drop back. He would have been a guy I would have eyeballed to try to get onto my roster too, just for the potential what if outcome, right?
You have enough QBs, Rich. Yeah. Stop being greedy.
Well, I love Anthony Erickson in these super flex leagues, to take a shot on him because you just can't get that archetype of quarterback like that late in the draft.
Exactly. So taking shots here, taking flyers. Who knows how many more QBs I might select. Let's take a quick break in the action to tell you about Fantasy Fest. That's right, the Fest is back. Join us live on our YouTube channel Tuesday, August 19th, 2 p.m. Eastern. 5 hours of ranking sleepers, top experts, JJ Zacharyson, Justin Boone, Andy Behrens, the CBS boys, and more. When does it end? Never. The party keeps going on Twitch right after, too. Bogman and Welsh are going to be playing Madden 26 live Tuesday, 7 p.m. on our Twitch, twitch.tv/fantasypros. But join us for the Fantasy Fest Tuesday, August 19th, 2 p.m. Eastern, to make sure you win all of your fantasy leagues, because your fantasy future might just depend on it. And now, back to the action. Zach Charbonnet goes next, then Tucker Kraft goes to Andrew Erickson. Staying on brand here, Andrew, with your tight end selection. Now, you took a second tight end. Let's talk about the why.
Yeah, I usually only will take one tight end most of the time, especially when you draft someone elite, but I've kind of been open to taking 2 tight ends, especially with this second tier. Usually it's Tucker Kraft, and then it's accompanied by some of the rookie tight ends like Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland. And I guess the way I see it is I'm not going to feel bad about having more good players on my team. I may not need Tucker Kraft, but I think Tucker Kraft's going to be a really good player. And when I was looking at the board, I'm seeing, oh yeah, we have a lot of teams that need tight ends that are picking after me. Well, I'm not going to make life easier for them. I'm going to make it harder for them to figure out the tight end position. So that's why I went with Tucker Kraft. And again, he can also fill in on a bye week, or if George Kittle gets banged up, I feel confident that I have someone that I can plug and play.
All right, Brendan Ayuk, Jaden Higgins, and then at 11:09, Dylan Sampson to Scott Bogman. We just had a big conversation about Jerome Ford, Sampson, Quinshawn, the whole Browns backfield here. So why Dylan Sampson and not Jerome Ford for you, Boggs?
Yeah, I just think that when you look at what the Browns did this offseason, right, with drafting 2 running backs. I think drafting 2 running backs says we don't really like the starter. Jerome Ford is fine, but is he much better than league average? Probably not. He's a decent running back, but I wouldn't say he's special. So let's draft 2 guys. Dylan Sampson reminds me a lot of Devin Singletary, like very twitchy, can get away from a tackle, maybe not the best long speed, but a good back, right? And I don't know what is going on with Judkins. Obviously, he just waived his right to a speedy trial, which is not good for the long-term outlook for this season, because who knows when this trial is going to go to court, and if the Browns are going to sign him, is he going to be on the exempt list? Like, I don't know what's happening with Judkins, so I don't trust him at all whatsoever. So I think it's going to be one of Sampson and Ford, and if I'm a betting man, I think this team, they threw more passes than any other team last year. They averaged more passes than any other team last year because they were so bad. You want to run the football. You want to keep that defense on the sideline. So I think Sampson's going to have a heavy workload, and whoever gets the lead role should have a heavy workload in Cleveland.
All right, Tajay Spears goes next, Tank Bigsby, and then Rich Hribar at the turn for 2 more picks. Let's close up round 11 and start round 12. Rich Hribar is dying to make a trade with me in this league. He just keeps drafting quarterbacks left and right. Darnell Mooney and then Sam Darnold, QB number 4. So, all right. So why go another QB here? Is this just for entertainment value here, Rich?
No.
Just trying to spite me.
I actually, just because this is a mock, I would have actually just let it go. But I think if I was drafting this team in reality, that was like a currency pick, right? One, it gives me an option to have a 4th guy to rotate, right? Because my guys aren't locked in weekly starters, even though I believe Dre Make will be. But like Bryce Young, Michael Penix are guys that inherently could just outright be QB2s or flatline, right? So it just gives me another guy to throw into that mix in terms of rotation if I've got a good matchup. I do like the fit with Clint Kubiak. Obviously, he was with Clint Kubiak in San Francisco a couple years ago. All the things that he excelled at last year with Kevin O'Connell is stuff that Clint Kubiak does. So at least, I don't expect him to have a 9% touchdown rate, but at least I think he can roll over some efficiency. And like I said, just currency pick. Like I can shop him around if I need to, or if my quarterback's hit. So that's why I just took him there. I would have taken him in a real draft. So I figured why not just do it for the mock too as well.
Well, you're a man of the people, Rich. Of course you should do it like a real mock. That's how we always do things here. We're trying to win the draft. We're trying to show everybody the right path to victory here. And I'm with you. What did I say earlier, everybody? The draft is for getting talent. So after Sam Darnold, Rashid Shaheed, Rashad White, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Scott Bogman. So Boggs, heavy target volume again potentially for Wan'Dale Robinson with a QB improvement.
Yeah, and if you saw the preseason, this dude had 93 receptions last year, 140 targets, and he was on the field more. They had him playing outside as well. So if he's going to be on the field a little bit more, he could be even more valuable this year. Again, not an exciting pick, not a sexy pick, but with the wide receivers that I already have, they're, more downfield targets. Give me a guy underneath that can rack up some catches for me.
Okay, after that selection, you have David Njoku, Jake Ferguson, and Marvin Mims. Another guy I'm taking late here. Andrew, I like what you're doing here. The kind of shots you're taking a wide receiver, there's a good chance that 1, 2, maybe even more hit. And Mims certainly looks like a guy that certainly showed you a little bit of that touchdown upside. Again, is it repeatable? That's the big question. But Andrew, I think this late in round 12, you take a shot.
Yeah, I think Mims has a lot of upside. I mean, what's been his biggest deterrent the first 2 years of his career is just the guy's not playing enough snaps, which we know can change, especially as coaches open up to ideas. Hey, this guy is good with the ball in his hands. He's efficient. Let's get him more involved. And Marvin Mims, I know we talked about Calvin Ridley on a show I did with Boggs. We also talked about Marvin Mims. Boggs, not a fan still. Are you still not a fan of Marvin Mims?
No. I mean, I've switched. Listen.
Let's go.
Well, we have one spot, right? It's between Pat Bryant, Valey, and Mims. And Mims played, 12 of 16 starter snaps with the group.
Like
So I still, long term, he still annoys me because he's going to get taken off the field because he can't run block, right? But playing that much says to me we have a plan for Mims, and he's going to be on the field more this year.
Okay.
So I moved him up.
After Mims, Quentin Johnson, and I took another tight end too. Again, just price enforcing. Tyler Warren, prospect out of Penn State that I absolutely just love the player. Don't like to be heavily invested in the Colts, but I do know one thing, which is I think both quarterbacks are limited, and Tyler Warren is a guy that's going to be open underneath check down city. And Warren is just a terrific player. So once again, like Rich was talking about, taking talent, that's what's important. After Warren goes Jaden Blue, Colston Loveland, Jonnu Smith, a lot of tight ends flying off the board. Bashal Tutin in the beginning of 13th round, then Kyle Pitts. So 4 of the last 6 picks were tight ends here. And then Trey Harris went back to me, and I took Jerome Ford. I took the guy who's been there already as opposed to the rookie, especially when you have a quarterback at Joe Flacco that's 100 years old. You know, I want a guy who's got a little bit more experience and knows what he's doing. So let's give it to Jerome Ford here. Ray Davis goes next. Braylon Allen to Andrew Erickson. Austin Eckler then goes next. Cedric Tillman. Then Scott Bogman, you took Christian Kirk. Aaron Rodgers went to Team 10. Team 11, Isaac Arendo. Then Rich Hribar took a guy out of my queue. Jalen Wright, Kyle Williams also to Rich. And the last couple rounds here will fly through, and we'll get to the back end here and see who won and what the experts say about our draft. Luther Burden at 1402, Keenan Allen, then Nick Chubb to Scott Bogman, also in my queue. Damn you, Scott Bogman. Dallas Goedert, Trey Benson, also in my queue. Man, they just get obliterated. Ugh. Josh Palmer to Andrew Erickson. He puts his money where his mouth is on Josh Palmer there. Phrasing. I probably shouldn't say it quite like that. Marquise Brown goes next to Team 5. And then I am up next on the clock here as I'm recapping picks. And looking at the board here and my queue, I'm going to go ahead and take Demario Douglas, working the slot here of the Josh McDaniels offense. I like that. Then after Douglas, Kincaid, Adam Thielen, Rico Dowdle. Last round, Cade Otton, Tyler Shuck, Tyler Algier. And what the hell? I'll take old man Russell Wilson here and see if the Giants can win a couple games just to get a 4th QB. Daniel Jones goes right after. I could have taken Daniel Jones. Look, I'm either betting on Anthony Richardson or I'm not. I don't want to hedge my bets for the Daniel Jones second place trophy. Jimmy Garoppolo goes next here for the Rams. Andrew Erickson, you're a jerk. You're just a. What are you trying to do here? What are you trying to prove, Andrew? You think you're cute?
I may not have the best team, but I have the best looking team. So
fair enough. It is a handsome group of men there. After Kareem Hunt, Jackson Dart, Malik Washington to Boggs, Zach Ertz, Shador Sanders, Rich Hribar. Last pick is.
Who do you want it to be? Brenton Strange, Chikakonkwo?
Kyle Monangai.
Oh, Roshan Johnson's still
I think it
out
has
there.
to be. I think it has to be a tight end by proxy of the rules of this draft.
Fair enough. I like the proxy rules. All right, I got an A. I don't know where everybody else finished. So my late QB team, not so bad. And guess what? Somehow I beat all these yokels again. What, I'm doing DraftKings reads. I'm selling subscriptions. You guys got to step up the game. Scott Bogman coming in 5th here. Andrew Erickson at 9th, but Rich Hribar right ahead of him at 8 by a couple points. Let's get the full breakdown and see who liked our draft, who hated it. Expert opinions here for me. Just going through there. Alfredo Brown, friend of mine, did not like my draft. I take offense to that. Let's talk about our expert opinions and get the breakdown from Andrew Erickson. Andrew, who liked your team, who hated it, and then we'll run through the roster for our listeners and watchers on YouTube.
Yeah, so I didn't get a good grade overall, 76 out of 100, so that's good for a C for those keeping track at home. And I only gave myself.
That killed you,
the Garoppolo pick. Clearly, the draft wizard's not registering the the complexion of Jimmy Garoppolo, of Jimmy GQ, and if he's going to start in week 1 for the Los Angeles Rams because of Matthew Stafford's back. But yeah, I only gave myself the Andrew Erickson bot, only gave my team an 89 out of 100, so a B+. So maybe a little bit different from what I usually do. I think that for me, one of the things that I think towards the end of the draft, I kind of probably pushed receiver just a little too much. Maybe the Tucker Kraft selection, again, at the time, I mean, he's my guy, so I feel like I always need to take him, but maybe a little bit of a gravy selection with him where I definitely needed more wide receiver help because, you know, my starting 3 guys, Nico's obviously locked in as my wide receiver 1, but then it's Hunter, Pearsall, Golden, Mims, and Palmer, so a lot of projections. So it's like week 1 comes around, I could see that this receiver room could potentially underwhelm, but at the same time, if some of these guys hit in a big way, or like you said before, Joe, during the show, guys that make that level jump, then I can feel really good about my team. So I think that this team has room to grow, but for right now, I understand why I've gotten the C grade.
Yeah, look, it's because I think a lot of it is you going ahead of expectations of projections. And that roster looks pretty good to me. Look, Jalen Hurts, Ashton Genty, Jonathan Taylor, that's pretty good. Now, it is a PPR draft, but still. Nico Collins, Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall. I think Pearsall can be a 2. George Kittle. Again, you what you lack in wide receiver, you also have one of the top 3 tight ends. So, again, it's a give and take. RJ Harvey at the flex. Geno is the super flex. Then the bench, Matthew Golden, Tucker Kraft, Josh Palmer, Marvin Mims, Braylon Allen, Jimmy Garoppolo. Really good roster there. Rich Hribar, let's run through your roster here. Drake Maye at quarterback. Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase Brown, nice running back room. The big-time CeeDee Lamb wide receiver. Tet McMillan, Stephon Diggs, then Brenton Strange at tight end. Rashee Rice at the flex. The super flex, Michael Penix, but you've also got Bryce Young and Sam Darnold, because you could, and you did. Jalen Warren, Kyle Williams, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Wright. What did you think of this draft? What did the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard think of the draft as well?
Well, Andrew likes my draft, is what it says. So by
there
default,
you
I got
is that
3
true, Andrew, or is that a lie?
I got 3 Patriots.
From you.
I got 3 Patriots.
No, I mean, he
why.
drafted Drake. I mean, all you got to do is draft Drake May, and I'm probably going to like your team.
I bet Fitz is in there too.
So, yeah.
But he popped up. He gave me a 94, which is a lot higher than the C+ grade I was given. But yeah, I mean, whenever you take your first quarterback in these leagues, I just don't think you're going to score well. You know, with a guy that's not going in consensus top 12. Like, then I believe Drake May is going to be there. Obviously, you know, if Rashee Rice, you know, comes back to back half and as wide receiver 1, I feel really good about my situation. And then if we just pan out anything at QB2, we're in good shape. Love the running backs and the anchor wide receiver. So I would play with this. Like, I think this team also has enough roster fluidity to where, like, there's a lot of like room potential to make moves at this roster in season.
All right, Scott Bogman. I agree, by the way, for the record. Not that that matters, but whatever. Scott Bogman, Justin Herbert at QB, Bijan, Robinson, Travion Henderson, then Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Trey McBride. Again, when you go big tight end, sometimes the wide receiver room doesn't look as good, unless it's my roster and you have Brock Bowers, and it still looks pretty good. Trey McBride, Isaiah Pacheco, and then Superflex is Kyler Murray. You've got Cam Ward on the bench, Keon Coleman, Wan'Dale Robinson, Nick Chubb, Malik Washington, and Dylan Sampson. Boggs, walk me through the stats, what you could have done, what you might have done differently, and what you're left with here on this roster.
Yeah, Joe Serpico, like my team more than anybody else, so thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. My steals were Herbert, 2 rounds after he's ranked, Ward 3 rounds after, and Kirk 2 rounds after. My reaches were Coleman and Sampson. 85 was my score here, so, you know, regular B, no plus, no minus. I'm fine. Obviously, my wide receivers are lacking. I got graded as dead last at wide receiver. That third one is a problem, but I think I gave myself many shots that could work. Kirk, Coleman, Wan'Dale, and Malik Washington touched the ball 5 times on like 13 snaps or something in the Miami offense the other day. So, and a lot of targets, you know, gone from Jonnu Smith. I think Malik Washington gives him a short target for Tua, so like to take him in the last round. So that third spot is my big question, but everything else is solid all the way through, and I think I gave myself enough shots at that third wideout to figure something out there.
All right, looking at the breakdown of my team, sleeper alert, Tyler Warren, the number 1 tight end, our consensus sleeper rankings at Fantasy Pro, so that's cool. It says, what if? Well, what if you took Justin Herbert and drafted a tight end later? You would have had 50 points higher. Well, I knew I took Brock Bowers. I thought Herbert would make it back to me, Draft Wizard, but he didn't. So I'm not happy about it either. Let's run through my team and get the guys' take on that, and then we'll call it a day here. Just looking through this roster right here. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy, then Bucky Irving, Tony Pollard. But here's where you make money. Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cortland Sutton, Brock Bowers, Jamison Williams, and then QBs. Well, I took some more shots at Superflex. Could be Matthew Stafford if he could stand up. Could be Anthony Richardson if he could stand up and throw the football forward. Could be Russell Wilson if he stopped being mediocre at football. Then tight ends here, again, besides Brock Bowers, I also have Mark Andrews there and Tyler Warren. I'm banking on somebody playing some flex for me potentially certain weeks, and also just trying to take value on the board, make some moves, make some deals, hoping I could package a quarterback and one of the tight ends. So you're saying, why'd you take 3 tight ends? I took 3 tight ends because those are the best players on the board, in my opinion, at that time in the draft. After Jerome Ford, Tyler Warren, Demario Douglas. So, Boggs, let's get your take on this team. What would you grade this here?
Probably like a B. I mean, B. The roster, the non-quarterbacks are awesome, but you are behind it. So
yes.
Is it going to be
too
enough
bad it's a
to make
Superflex league.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate
Is it
thing.
going to be enough? Is your roster enough to make up for the quarterback issues? I don't know. So it's just risky in a Superflex to wait on QB. I like that you tried it. The roster looks good, and things can break the right way, and you could win by a landslide. But I always find that maybe doubling up on quarterbacks early is a better way to win by a landslide.
I think the teachable moment here is you can wait on QB or you could take early tight end. You can't do both. And I did both. And I think that's and we talk about that in regular drafts too, in single quarterback leagues. Like if you take the early QB, you can't really take the early tight end too. It doesn't work out. Vice versa. And you know what? It's true in Superflex, and I just proved it. Now it still gave me an A because, well, it's Jamar Chase, pretty good. Amon-Ra St. Brown, pretty good. But either or, everybody. That, I think, is the big teachable moment, the lesson learned here. Rich Hribar, thank you so much for teaching us all lessons here on the show today. Of course, you can check out all of Rich's work over at Sharp Football Analysis, where he's doing all amazing work. Again, one of the best fantasy football minds out there. Pizza connoisseur, all-around great guy. Love your Rich Hribar. So happy to have you. Follow him on the Twitter machine at Lord Reebs. And, of course, Scott Bogman, Andrew Erickson, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you run those mock drafts on your own right now. Download Draft Wizard for all of your iOS, your Android devices. Run your mock draft simulations over and over and over again. This is the time to get ready. Drop your comments below. Who had the best draft here? And you might win yourself that A.J. Brown helmet if you subscribe to the channel. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Rich, Andrew, and Scott, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.